people say, I don't think people watch my videos, my live streams properly, because I have covered this before, but I want to show what I do with the acetone treatment on the ABS, how I get them to come out really shiny. And I thought, well, obviously I use a combination of spraying and shringing the acetone on. There's some areas that need a little bit more. So at the moment, what I do is I sandpaper the print. I sandpaper it down with really coarse, heavy, coarse grit paper like this. It's actually, what is it? It's P80. I use pretty coarse grit. You need that, otherwise it will clog up quickly. And once I've sandpapered it, I spray the bottom of the object, which is what I've just done with this. Obviously at the top you'll see it's all dull, and I did this in SketchUp, obviously. It's all dull on the top at the moment, but I've got my guide rails on there. So I spray the bottom and I wait until it's touch dry, and now I'll flip it over on the side, right like that. I need to wedge it a little bit. Hang on. It's because I'm using one. It's because I'm holding the camera. I can't really do this properly without. Right, I'll just do it like that. So put it on the side. I get my spray. I use an old perfume bottle actually, and you've got to be careful when you take these caps off. You can twist them off with a pair of pliers, and then you can get your acetone in. And then, as you can see, it's dull at the moment, so I start spraying the acetone. I'm doing the edge. I normally hold it with my hand, but because I'm holding the phone, it's a bit tricky to do. So I do that. So that's wet. It's just like spraying paint, really. That's all. That's the only thing. It's the only similarity. And make sure I spray. I'm not going to spray it at the camera, otherwise it would destroy the lens. Spray that end. I'm going to have to stick it on the edge now because it's wet on the bottom end, and I don't want to. So basically do that, and the other end. Right, now that it's sprayed, it's going to be hard to pick up actually. I'm going to put it back in the container, put the lid on for a few minutes. Once it's done, I'll leave it in there for about 40 minutes. So I've got to leave it in the container now for a few minutes. The reason for putting the lid on is I don't want to be breathing the fumes, and the acetone is soaked into the ABS plastic, into the fibres, and it binds the fibres together and makes it stronger as well. They come out pretty strong. Actually, while we're waiting for that to dry a bit, I'll show you the one I've done earlier. This one's as you can see, this is what it come out like. Oh, I've got it upside down. Yeah, got it upside down. So this is one I did earlier, and it looks almost like it's been painted, but it's not. It's just the acetone treatment on the ABS. And they come out really nice. And that's the bottom. It's a lot easier when I'm just not holding a phone in my hand. But you do get a little bit of white stuff on there. That's usually impurities in the acetone. That's why I put it in the container. It stops moisture and oxygenation, or whatever you're going to call it. It's where you get the moisture in the air mixes with the acetone, and that's when you get a cloudy white effect. I can rub that off with a rubber, literally. Let me just grab a rubber and I'll show you what I mean. But I don't usually bother. Usually if you get a normal razor, a rubber, I can't really hold this properly, but if you you've got backwards and forwards on it, you can sometimes rub it off. Depends how deep it's gone. If it's gone really deep, then I've got to basically, I spray it again with more acetone. That's the easiest way of doing it, really. But sometimes you can rub it off, but it just depends. It's just, I'm not worried about the appearance of it, to be honest. But or you can use your fingernail. You can usually scratch that off. So it's when moisture gets into the acetone plastic. The best example of that to show you is the plug that I've 3D printed for the sink. If I go in the other room. When I printed this plug, it got moisture in the plastic and it went very white in there, as you can see. So that's in extreme case what happens with moisture. And so like acetone needs to be in an airtight container so that it doesn't absorb moisture. I've noticed a strange thing actually. What happens when you seal it in a container is the lid, sometimes when you spray the plastic, the pressure actually increases inside the container and it actually gets warm inside with the acetone impermeating the plastic, and if you stick your hand in it you can feel this heat, which is really weird because normally acetone, when it's evaporating, it creates cold. When you spray it on your hand it feels extremely cold, but when it's in this container it actually seems to produce heat, so it causes gas expansion which pops the lid off sometimes. So I usually stick this on my container in there, and it's wedged between this top shelf. It's wedged between that container and the top shelf here, and that keeps the lid from popping off. But at the moment I'm not worried about it because I'm only doing a light amount at a time. I'm going to drop this thing in a minute. Right, I should be able to turn this over now. Sorry, I'm just fidgeting a bit. Right, let's just check it. Right, okay. So you can see it's come shiny now, look. And it's dry enough to touch. I can touch it without any fingerprints on there. So I'll basically, I'll just flip it around. And now I'm going to spray the top. Right. Oh, if I can make sure the bottle straw is in the right. Where is that? Let's see. I need to rotate. Oh, I'm just messing about with my bottle. Right. Right now. Come on. It's not coming out. What have I done? Oh, where's the straw on this bottle? Oh, it's there. Right. Oh, man. The bottle's nearly empty. It wants filling up. Right. Just. So now I'm going to spray all the way. I don't mind if I get a bit of a puddle in there. It actually makes a better job if I get a bit of a puddle. And it stinks, so I'm trying not to get too close with my nose because it really stinks. Right, as soon as I get this finished I can get the lid back on. Right, get the lid back on. And shit. It's hard to do this with one hand. Right, now that I've got all that sprayed in there, I can't pick it up. Right, I'm going to wedge it between that, because there's quite a lot in there. It's wedged now between that bottom container and the top one. It's a good fit actually. So I'm going to leave that. Oh, sorry, I wasn't pointing. I'm going to leave that in the vapor now for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to take it out. Then I'm going to go around the edges again with my with the syringe, acetone in the syringe. Edge is stronger. It tends like it doesn't warp as much. Otherwise, if you don't let it dry evenly, so what I normally do is, as it's drying, the area that's pointing up into the air tends to curl up, right? So, for example, this, if I left that overnight, this end and that end might curl up a bit, and this bit might be bowed. So what you do is you flip it over upside down so that the vacuum area, that I mean the vacant space area, is against a flat surface, and I'll put a weight or something on it. You see, look, it's bowed up. Look, I push that end down, it's actually bent the other way. So because it's bowed up that way, I'm going to leave it that way up, because that way it will dry more on the top first, and it will help to curl back the other way. So you gotta let it, you gotta flip it over occasionally when you do it like this. Otherwise you get it curling on you. You can see it much more effective with a very thin piece of ABS plastic. You have a tendency to curl on you, but yeah, and if it gets curled and it's dried out and there's no acetone left, and another way to straighten it out is to use a hairdryer. You just heat it all up with a hairdryer, bend it flat, and then let it cool. And because you're only heating it, that straightens it all out. That's another way of doing it, once it's dried, that is. But you don't put heat on it. Don't put heat on it while the acetone's wet, because what happens then, it bubbles up, and you get these great big blisters of plastic, and you end up with hollow voids inside the plastic, and it's awful. It's just a disaster, and you've got to start again. So you can't use a hairdryer on acetone and ABS plastic if it's still soaking, if it's still got quite a lot of acetone in it. It really takes 2 or 3, maybe 4 days to dry out properly. It depends how thick the plastic is. And once it dries out, then you can use heat. But yeah, I've tried that. Trust me, I've tried the heat method while it's still wet, and it's a disaster. I thought it might not work, but I thought I'd try it because I was trying to speed it up drying. But yeah, it doesn't work. So okay, so I thought you might find that interesting. I'm just running it at the moment. I'm just seeing how it goes, but nothing fancy. Yeah, it's doing a lot better than it was. I'll be having more updates later once once I've got these new things finished off. These I've just been showing you, the plastics, and once it dries out, I can replace these two. My thumb's twitching again. These two ends, and then I'll have more space to put some extra coils in on next to the actuator coils. I'm going to try some extra secondaries using the same diameter as these coils to see what kind of output we get. Part of an experiment, so I believe obviously I'll still have these secondary coils on, but I've only got 6 bridge rectifiers on there, which is what I'm connected to. So I've only got 2 spare ones. Because I've only got 2 spare ones, I'll only really be able to have an extra 2 secondaries on there connected to it, unless I disconnect 2 of these, that is. But yeah, we'll see what happens when I get to that. Yeah, okay, we'll be back later. What I've been doing is queuing up a few video scheduled events on YouTube. I figured out how to do it now, and so that every time I want to go live, there's one ready for me to use, and which is annoying, really, having to do it like that. But yeah, it sucks. It's not like the simple days where you could just go live and then edit and put the title in later. It asks me for a freaking title and a description, even though I've created a scheduled event with a title and a description. So it asks me for a title and description, right? Which I don't even need, because it doesn't even use it. So say I put test, right, in the title, and this is a test in the description, and I use a scheduled event, which I've preset with a title and a description. It uses that one instead. So, and it won't let me go past the boxes where you've got to type in the title and the description. It won't let me skip that point, which is stupid. So you basically got to put something in there, anything like a hash sign or something, just so you can get past that window. So OBS has still got bugs. It's not right yet. Alright, that's it for now.